So in my opinion, the most underappreciated part of the Super Bowl performance is Samuel L. Jackson as Uncle Sam. Like, yes, he's a famous actor, but I'm assuming most of y'all don't know that this man used to be so radical that he once held MLK's father as a hostage as a part of a protest. And just to be clear, I'll say that again, this is MLK Jr., and Samuel L. Jackson held MLK Sr. as a hostage. So back in 1969, Samuel L. Jackson was a student at Morehouse College. At that time, he and other students locked the Board of Trustees, which included MLK Sr., in a room. They refused to let any of them go until they addressed the deep racial inequities that existed at the school. Now, even though Morehouse is an HBCU, it was still mostly run by white men, and its leadership structure was disconnected from the needs of black students in the local black community. In his own words, Jackson said, "Morehouse was breeding politically correct Negroes. That was their trip. They was into making docile Negroes. We wanted a black studies department, but they wouldn't do it." And in case it's not obvious, the tension between a young Jackson and these trustees should sound familiar. Because what was the tension between Kendrick Lamar and Jackson's character at the Super Bowl performance? Now, going back to the story, in the building while locked up, MLK Sr. started to have chest pains, and Jackson had to make a tough choice. But instead of giving up, opening the doors, and letting everyone out, they instead just decided to lower MLK Sr. out of a window so that they could continue the protest and keep the other trustees inside. They weren't backing down for any reason. They eventually won, and the board agreed to a lot of their demands, including creating a Black Studies program. But Jackson and the other protest leaders were suspended from the school. Both before and after this moment, Jackson had done a lot of civil rights work. He was an usher during MLK Jr.'s funeral, and he later befriended Stokely Carmichael and other Black Power movement leaders. And this literally went so far that Jackson was buying guns and preparing for armed resistance against the United States government. This was until the FBI threatened him with death and Jackson's mother forced him to leave Atlanta. Now, decades later, the same man who fought against the establishment is now embodying it as Uncle Sam in the Super Bowl performance. That's a full circle moment. Because on one hand, we should know that Jackson does not represent the ideals of this character in his real life. But on the other hand, it forces us to ask, what happens when revolutionaries grow older and sometimes become representative of the same establishments that they once fought against? Whether it's because of trauma, wisdom, or other lived experience, why do they sometimes do everything they can to mold the youth to be more acceptable, as Jackson's character does in this performance? Well, that was my takeaway, but I want to hear yours. Let me know what you think in the comments, and comment the word newsletter specifically if you want to be DM'd a link to my Substack where I have a full in-depth analysis of the entire performance. And of course, follow for more.